What if the biggest thing holding your child back isn't their confidence, but yours? What if every warning, every correction, every be careful has less to do with protecting them and more to do with protecting yourself? What if you're stifling their creativity, opportunity, progress, joy, that willingness to try the things that create a much brighter future? Welcome back. This is Answer Me This, part of the Fatherhood in Focus podcast. I'm Aidan, dad, host, and founder of the Modern Fatherhood Club. Every week, I'm going to ask you one uncomfortable question. Not to shame you, but to sharpen you. This series, it's about legacy, impact, and the man that your kids actually see when you walk into that room. Because the world is happy for you to just cope. But we're here to help you choose. Choose how you show up, how you lead, and how you love. Before we dive in, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe there too. And look, if you're looking for fatherhood resources, head over to the modernfatherhoodclub.com, where we've built a series of tools and resources that can help you from those early messy days right through to the years when you're shouting at them from across the room. All right, take a breath. This week's question is going to test you. Let's get into it. We tell ourselves we're helping, guiding, protecting, preparing them for the world. We're even putting controls in place to protect them. But answer me this, how much of what you call protection is actually fear wearing a different name? In a week where the UK government have banned social media, are we limiting their potential access to the wider world, the thoughts and opinions of those willing to take a risk, those willing to stand up for what they believe in? Those prepared to carve out their own future, a future where they set their own boundaries? Are we controlling their right to free speech, their right to stand up for what they believe in, to influence who they become, what stories to listen to and value, and what stories and influences to ignore? Are we stopping freedom of choice because we don't trust them enough? Now, to be very clear, I believe controlling the influence of social media is critical to the advancement of our children. But I do struggle with the fact that we're now leveraging our power as adults to address the issues that we've partly failed to control ourselves. And we're using that leverage now to assert control over their future. The big question is, though, are we listening to our children? Now, doom scrolling aside, are there not role models that are providing access to knowledge that helps them understand how that world works? And I guess there's a deeper question. If you're happy to doom scroll until your mind is numb, what is that really teaching them? Well, it's teaching them that it's okay. And in just a few years, well, you can do exactly what I do. Now, of course, there is a science, and some of it's quite scary, about the impact of social media and how it can alter the brain. But what about Cocomelon? What about YouTube Kids and the utter drivel we're allowing our children to access before their brains have developed? For me, this is a family issue, a parent issue, a government initiative to take control and take away the authority and responsibility of the parent in the home. Well, is this not feeding the lack of accountability that is rife amongst today's society? Is our willingness to be controlled backed by our ignorance and our inability to parent our children with confidence? Hey, and the occasional no. Let's be clear. I am a parent. I buy the phone, I choose the phone, and I manage the parental controls. I can choose to filter out that algorithm. Now, I can't stop them overriding these things, but I can limit their access. And it's as simple as this. Here's a phone, it makes calls, it sends texts. But if we're giving them the latest tech, there are tools to limit the influence of the social media available. You can lock down the apps and limit or even stop access completely. What I think we've done here It's created a divide between parents and children. We as parents, we're duty bound to understand this issue, monitor it, and educate our children on it. A blanket ban, well, that's creating an argument. It's creating a breakdown in trust. It's breaking down the communication between child and parent. It's not allowing us to trust our children. It's saying, I know best and I'm right. But are we making this decision out of fear? Fear of the unknown, fear that they'll grow up too quickly, fear that they'll make their own decisions. Look, I'm not advocating that we don't take this ban seriously. I just think we as parents need to be allowed to think for ourselves, understand the challenges faced, and build a relationship based on trust. So let's look at it a different way. My parents, well, they were strict on one thing: alcohol. I never experienced it until I was 15, almost 16. And then I hid it. I know my dad knew what was going on, and I always believed that I was getting away with it. But we didn't speak about it. I just concealed it as best I could. If I was out of the house and out with friends, then we'd have a drink. Perhaps my parents' decision was based on life experience. And I think as I've got older and become wiser to certain issues within our extended family, I can kind of see why it was a taboo subject. But creating a taboo subject out of fear, is that not driving your children to do the exact opposite of your instruction? So I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm sure there will be more on this to come as I digest it more. But for now, let's pivot for the rest of this episode. So look, we've dressed up a blanket ban on social media as protection. But in your home, how much of what you call protection is actually fear wearing a different name? You see, fear, it's a strange thing because most of us, we don't recognize it. We don't call it fear, we call it responsibility, we call it preparation, we call it common sense, we call it experience. We call it making the right decision at the right time, having convinced ourselves that we've weighed up all the options. But underneath it, sometimes it's just fear. Fear that they'll get hurt, fear that they'll fail, fear that they'll be led down the path that you hope they wouldn't follow. Fear they'll make the same mistakes we made. Fear that somehow we'll let them down. And long before we start parenting from that place, not confidence, but fear, remember that your objective is to lead, inspire, promote, demonstrate the art of the possible, help them build resilience, give them the capacity to endure the hard times without wilting at the first sign of struggle. And to do this, we cannot lead from a position of fear. We've got to lead from that position of strength, courage, and a willingness to let them try something new, something challenging, something you are not entirely comfortable with. But you also need to give them the space to figure it out without jumping in to impact the result. I spent a lot of time thinking about this because if I'm honest, I carry fear. Not fear that my boys won't succeed, fear that I'll limit them. Fear that I'll somehow get in the way of who they're supposed to become. Fear that they may not reach their potential because I didn't give them the space, confidence, and strength to do what was hard, what was challenging, what was rewarding. The world moves quickly. The pressure is relentless. The expectations are everywhere. School, technology, social media, performance, conformity. And as parents, well, we want to keep them safe. So we create rules, boundaries, expectations. But sometimes I wonder, where's the line? Where's the line between guidance and control? Where's the line between helping and limiting? Where's the line between preparing them and teaching them to doubt themselves? Because confidence isn't built by avoiding challenge. It's built through challenge. It's not built by you catching them when they fall. It's built by watching them fall and getting back up. by letting them realize what they're mentally and physically capable of. Imagine your child standing at the edge of something difficult. A stage, a sport field, a classroom, maybe even a conversation, a risk, a dream. What's the first thing that they hear? Is it your confidence or your fear? Let me give you a couple of reference points. So Henry was selected to represent his school in athletics. This is the second year, and last year, when he was at his lowest point, he was selected and he didn't want to go. He didn't want to compete. He didn't think he was good enough. And last year, in his 80-metre sprint, he finished last. In the relay last year, his team finished last. But in that race, he'd led his sprint on the third leg of 4. So he kind of proved to himself that he was capable of it. See, this was fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of the challenge, fear of taking a risk, fear of living outside his comfort zone. This year, same response. I don't want to go, Daddy. I'm not going, Daddy. But you see, this is Henry's approach to things. He outwardly doesn't want to go. When he's there, he throws himself in and he always gives it a good go. He's beginning to realize what he's capable of achieving. He's starting to see that you can be fearful, unsure, uncertain, and still give it a damn good go. In 2026, that same boy who didn't think he was good enough won that 80-metre sprint, and his team finished third in the relay. So he comes home with 2 medals. But you see, it was more than that. There was a clear line on the improvement that he'd made from last to first. This is a boy who last year lost all confidence. His self-esteem was at 0, and he was fearful of everything. So fear lives in us all. The question is whether you're prepared to let them see it for what it is, a feeling, something uncomfortable, something that can limit or inspire. But whilst I've got you, let me give you another example. Let's take Henry's kickboxing. Fearful, that's an understatement. Maxi, he wanted to try it and he loved it. Straight in, no questions. He has this relentless energy. That means right now, fear doesn't have time to kick in because he's already in whatever it is before he has time to let fear stop him. Now, we started kickboxing because I believed it would help build their confidence, resilience, and teach them about power. The power that they're capable of harnessing, the power that as boys will help them overcome hard things. Not just because they're physically strong, but because mentally they understand what they're capable of becoming. Again, Henry's hesitant. He watched from the side as Maxi threw himself in. He waited and waited. And he turned to me and said, Daddy, I'm going to give it a go. And off he went. No push from me. This was a decision he had to make on his own. We'd spoken at length about why I thought it was good, but I'd said to him, look mate, it's entirely up to you. It's something I know you can do, but the choice is yours. Now fast forward 9 months, and he's looking at me after he's finished up his drills on kicking and punching combos. He's looking like a ninja. He's fit, strong. This kid is ripped. Most importantly though, he's smiling. But then I catch his gaze again. What was he searching for? See, at that point, he's looking for validation, approval, for me to give him that well done. And of course I oblige. This boy has been through so much, and to see him confident and smiling again, well, it has me bursting with pride. But as the session drew to a close, I had to pull him to one side. And this is what I said. Henry, son, you don't need my approval. You're amazing, you're brave, courageous, strong, smart, funny, and I'm proud. But you've done this. You weren't sure, but you've overcome that doubt. You've proven to yourself that you can do this. Daddy will always be here, and he will always be proud. But what's most important is that you're proud of yourself. And I left it there. Now he goes in, I watch. He's got his head up. He's confident in his place. He's ready for that next challenge. That fear, it's always there, but they can always overcome it, and so can you. So let me ask you something. When your child comes to you with an idea, do you show them possibility or risk? When they fail, do you focus on the lesson or the consequence? When they struggle, do you teach them resilience or do you rescue them? And here's the uncomfortable one. Do you trust your children as much as you expect them to trust themselves? And that last one, but it's the most important one for me. Because our role is to lead, guide, inspire, and stand by their side. It's not to jump in at the first sign of struggle and deliver that fix. It's to teach them to trust themselves, to find the answer. It's to teach them to test themselves, to see what they are capable of, to feel that pride wash over them when they nail whatever it is. But above it all, it's trust. Trusting them, trusting yourself, and building that mutual trust between you. Because that's what fatherhood is. It's leadership. You see, fear pushes, confidence guides. Fear creates urgency, confidence creates belief. Your kids can feel the difference. We too need to use our fear as fuel, because they will mirror the way you respond when things are hard or when things don't quite work out. They will see how you step back instead of stepping forward. But most importantly, I think the lesson is this. Our fears cannot create a confidence void in our children. They need to be empowered to make their own choices, see failure as an opportunity to learn. They need to have the knowledge to make their own decisions, and they need to see that we trust their judgment and trust that they'll choose the right path. And this is where I think it gets uncomfortable, because I don't think most of us fear failure. I think we fear regret. We fear looking back at what could have been. We fear missed opportunities. We fear wasted potential. I think deep down, as a dad, when the reality of fatherhood really hits, you question everything, every past decision, every future decision. You question whether you are good enough to do this. But we all carry fear. We all carry that fear of getting it wrong. But as dads, we fear making mistakes that will limit who they become. You see, the role we play is to create a better version of who we were, who we are. But for the most part, we don't focus on who we're becoming. And because we hold these fears, we become overprotective, over-involved, over-corrective, over-cautious, even controlling. We don't let them fail, then teach them how to respond from a position of empathy. The irony? The thing we're trying to avoid becomes the thing that we create. Children who second-guess themselves. Children that need reassurance. Children who look outside themselves for answers. Children who look at you for validation when they should be confident enough to know who they are and what they can do. The thing I want most for my boys isn't success. It's trust. Trust in themselves. Trust in their ability to recover. Trust in their ability to solve problems. Trust in their ability to face up to the world. Because one day, like you, I won't be there. One day, they'll have to stand on their own. And in that moment, well, my confidence in them, well, it becomes their confidence in themselves, or it doesn't. So I've realized something. My role isn't to remove every obstacle. It's to help them believe they can overcome obstacles. My role isn't to eliminate failure. It's to teach recovery. My role isn't to create certainty. It's to create confidence. Confidence built on experience. Confidence built on effort. Confidence built on trying. And confidence built on getting back up. Because life, it's going to knock them down. The question is, what voice do they hear when it does? Is it, what if I can't do it? Or will they hear, well, I'll give this a shot and see what happens? Because that's what fear asks. What if I fail? But confidence, well, that asks, what if I surprise myself? And that's our role, to inspire today, tomorrow, and when you're gone. Because that day will come, and our legacy is what we leave behind and how they lead and shape their own future. So answer me this. When your children hear your voice, what are they really hearing? Is it the confidence you have in them or the fear you carry yourself? Because one day your voice will be their inner voice, and that voice may just shape their entire life. So this week, I'm going to leave you with one last question. Are you trying to protect them from pain or protect yourself from watching them experience it? Because it can be hard to watch, seeing them fail, seeing them lose at something they've worked at, seeing them not break into the first team or get that chance to test themselves. What we must do is teach them to trust themselves, to have confidence, even when nobody else has confidence in them, to believe that they can do it, no matter what it is. We must let them build that trust, and the greatest risk today is influencing through fear, because fear inhibits decision making and it can inhabit their future. I'm here because I lost sight of what was important and it almost cost me everything. But that challenging time, well, it taught me about duty. It taught me to live aligned to the things that matter and to never overlook the small stuff and my impact on their world. I've made mistakes. I've missed moments. But I'm not letting them define me. Remember, your kids, they don't need a dad who has it all figured out. They need a dad who's willing to take a look in that mirror and keep becoming. So if you're here and you've listened, or if you're scrolling between pressure and exhaustion, and something inside you whispers, I need more than this, my friend, you're in the right place. Because this is where we talk about what matters. This is where you answer the questions that keep you up at night. This is where you and I, we get to the truth. Not just about what it means to be a dad, but what it takes to become the father that they will never forget. As always, write it down, dive into the detail, and create something so powerful and unique that you cannot wake up and not move toward it. Remember, you're working to create the version of dad that they need to see. Because if you get this right, they're going to live how you lived, love how you loved, listen how you listened, and prioritize the way that you did. They're going to show up in the lives of those they love the most, just like you. This is the role of the modern dad. Stability, strength, passion, perseverance, pride, and above it all, love. Okay, that's today's question. You've just spent a few minutes doing what most of us avoid. Slowing down, being honest, and looking at how you are really showing up. And that matters, and it matters more than you know. Just remember that your kids don't need a perfect man. They need an honest one. One who's willing to reflect, reset, and lead from the front, even when he's tired, under pressure, or just coping more than he'd like to admit. If this episode landed for you, subscribe to the podcast, and if you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe there too, so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. And if you haven't yet, join us at themodernfatherhoodclub.com. That's where you'll find our free resources and reflection questions, the ultimate new dad toolkit, and the new dad recharge course for those of you that are ready to realign your energy and your priorities. And there's going to be upcoming details on our antenatal course there too, for those of you expecting a baby. Look, I'm not perfect, and neither are you, but we're committed to leading with confidence, strength, openness, and heart. Committed to giving our kids the version of us that's present, not just productive. Thank you. Thank you for listening, for reflecting, and for doing the work. This is the Modern Fatherhood Club. This is Answer Me This, part of the Fatherhood in Focus podcast. Lead from the front and never underestimate the power you have over who they become. I'll see you in the next episode.